Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Friday Tech Bites. My name is Melissa Palmer. I'm on the product strategy team here at Veeam, and I'm joined by my colleague Kirsten Stoner. Kirsten, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I mentioned earlier it's been 100 degrees in Columbus, Ohio, so we've had to deal with this heat wave. But luckily it's cooling down a little bit. And it's Friday, so you can't really get much better than that.
Exactly. And I hear there's a heat wave pretty much all over the place. So speaking of that, little housekeeping before we get started here. We're going to populate a map throughout the show, and we want you to leave us a comment and let us know where you're from. We'll light up the map. We'll turn the whole world green, and we'll have a great time. So let us know where you're from and your favorite social media platform, wherever you may be watching from. Now, we have a very special topic today that is near and dear to both Kirsten and I's hearts, and we actually had a really fun time preparing for it. Today, we are going to review 6 reasons why we love and hate the public cloud. Now, Kirsten, my colleague Kirsten, who's a wonderful human being, will be loving the cloud, and I will be hating the cloud. What do you think about that, Kirsten?
I think that we have some good content. I mean, with everything we do, there's always going to be like pros and cons to every situation, like whether it's, working in the cloud or maybe it's like going to the grocery store. Like there's a pro and con to every situation. So it's good to, weigh them both when making any type of decision.
Exactly. So let us know where you're from in the comments, and let us know if you agree or disagree with any of our talking points. So we're going to count backwards from 6 to 1. And we're going to start with number 6. First, we're going to start with a picture of the cloud because that's what we're talking about today. And then we're going to start with number 6. And Kirsten, can you tell me something you love about the cloud?
Yeah. What's great about the cloud is that it's super scalable. Just having the ability to increase or decrease IT resources to meet demands. And traditionally, when we think about this in the past, if we wanted to increase our IT resources, we maybe had to, purchase more equipment, which could be expensive. And then it would take up to weeks or months to even, get that up, installed, and running. So with the cloud already having that infrastructure in place, we can, easily scale to the cloud with little disruption or downtime. And this is really a great benefit of the cloud because you're going to avoid those upfront costs of purchasing that. And then you can also, pay as you use. So as you increase your IT resources in the cloud, you're going to pay for them as you go.
All right, Kirsten, I got to give you that one. That is a really good benefit of public cloud. It's always there. It's always ready for your workloads. And you're not going to run out of space suddenly, right? All right. I will give you that to you. The cloud is super scalable. That is something I love about it. And I'm going to agree. So that was a good point, Kirsten. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's go
Now,
to number.
why do we hate the cloud?
We hate the cloud for many reasons. However, let's start with number 5. The cloud is super insecure. Here's something that really grinds my gears is that a lot of people think that the cloud is a no responsibility model, not a shared responsibility model. You're still responsible for your workloads in the cloud, and you can still do insecure things in the cloud, especially if you didn't have good security habits on-prem. That stuff will follow you up there, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So if you move an application that wasn't secure, it's not going to magically be secure in the cloud. And now I have to tell a little story. It's my favorite cloud story. And I'm very excited to share that is recently my 1-year anniversary of being ransomware in the public cloud. So I had a public cloud lab that I was building for my Veeam demo last year. I was doing some additional testing afterwards. I logged in one day and nothing worked, right? Like I couldn't click on the icons and I couldn't figure it out. So I rebooted the server and I logged back in. And this was my Veeam backup and replication server, of course, right? And I found a little text file on the desktop saying that you've been ransomed, and everything had been encrypted, right? Everything, my backup server, my backups, my other servers, right? So I was kind of just like oh no, what do I do now? I laughed because I had another copy of my data someplace else. So I had a second backup and replication server hiding inside a Veeam disaster recovery orchestrator, which was not ransomware. So I connected my backup repository to a different B&R server because like we don't care about the actual backup and replication server. We just care about the backups themselves. And I was restoring my VMs in 6 minutes. So it's really easy to do dumb stuff in the cloud and get in trouble. So that's one of the reasons I hate the cloud. People don't take the proper security precautions, myself included. That's valid.
Well, too, yeah, I mean, you deploy your machines in the cloud, and sometimes you just forget that you have to, do this extra
Oops.
stuff, and then you get ransomed. I mean, we were on the call yesterday, and you're like, "This is my 1 year anniversary."
Yeah. I'm so excited. All right, so let's go back to a little bit of love because we don't want to be all hatred. And Kirsten, tell us something else that you love about the cloud.
I love about the cloud is, there's many options, and I know we're talking about the public cloud today, but you have the public cloud, you have the hybrid cloud, you have the private cloud, and depending on your business needs and requirements, you have some options to choose from. Do you want to go straight to public cloud only? Maybe you want to do half and half, or maybe you just want to have the private cloud. And then once you figure that out, there's different cloud providers you can use as well. So you have AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and maybe some more that I can't think of right now as well. Um, so there's a lot of different options, and while they are all very similar, you're going to want to choose what's best for your organization. So make sure you do your research and figure out what's going to be the easiest for you to use. And then with the cloud as well, with Veeam, we have the ability to easily migrate workloads between the cloud as well through being able to directly restore to AWS, Azure Stack, or Google Cloud. So, and this could be, a virtual machine, a physical machine, or a cloud-based workload. So all you really need to do is take a backup of that machine, and then you can instantly restore your virtual machine into AWS, and then you have, your machine running in AWS already ready for you to go. And this is like something that could also come in handy when you think about disaster recovery scenarios, because if your site goes down, your production site goes down, you can instantly restore into the cloud and you can have it up and running, which also can be, when you think about it, could be your DR site as well. So giving you that option there, so you don't have to maintain that secondary site, is also really cool, and one reason why we love the cloud.
And now we know that Kirsten's been spending way too much time with me because I didn't actually have to say anything. She said that for me. So thank you, Kirsten. That is all a ton of valid points. So now that we've gone through 3 reasons so far, let's take a break and check the map and see who we have reporting in. Now, I struggle with this every time we do this because I can never read the screen correctly because I'm sitting too far from it and I won't wear my glasses, but I'm going to give it a go. So welcome to the stream, Ohio, Texas, California, Massachusetts, Florida, Georgia, and Arizona. And if we head over to Europe, we've got Germany, Poland, France, and Romania. We also have Israel, Morocco, Turkey, Bangladesh, and New Zealand. So we have a ton of people watching today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and keep letting us know where you're from in the comments. So we're about halfway through our countdown. I think we're really providing valid points, whether you love, hate it, however you want to slice it. So let's get back to our 6 reasons why we love and hate the public cloud. Number 3, surprise bills. I'd like to give a shout out to Rick Vanover at Veeam. We're on Rick's team, and he pays our cloud bill. So we have not. Woo! We got our cloud bills paid for. We haven't actually given Rick any surprise bills because we're all very cognizant of it because it's something that's happened to everybody. The cloud is not a charity. That's a little saying we have here, and it's important to know what you're getting into, to really look at the cost of what you're doing. A lot of times you might see that the cloud is not actually cheaper, but there might be other benefits to it, like the flexibility or the scalability aspect, or the fact it's not something that you actually have to maintain. I don't know how people are going to feel about this one, but the cloud is really just someone else's data center, right? But at least it gets you out of the business of dealing with power and cooling and all that kind of stuff. Now, we do a lot of backing up public cloud resources here at Veeam, of course, right? Because that's important to remember too. You still have to back up in the cloud, right? Just like you would on-prem, you back up in the cloud. And one of the greatest features of all the Veeam backup for public cloud products, two of which we had new versions of come out this week. We have Veeam Backup for AWS version 5 launched this week, and Veeam Backup for Google Cloud version 3 launched this week. You could get them in their respective marketplaces. They're free for the first 10 instances if you want to kick the tires. But my hands down favorite feature about this is the cost estimation that's built in. So as I go and build my data protection policy, it's going to tell me exactly how much it's going to cost. So I might look at it and go, I'm only backing up once a day, and that's pretty cheap. Maybe I'll go for a lower RPO. Let me back up every 12 hours instead. Or I might say, wow, I'm backing up this application every 2 hours and it's super expensive. Maybe I don't need to do that. Let me go back to the business owners and have this discussion again. So everybody hates the surprise bills. It's something to think about going in, right? The economics of the cloud, keeping an eye on things, trying not to let it be the wild, wild west. When it comes to on-prem stuff, it's easy just to go deploy 25 vSphere VMs because you've already paid for the vSphere environment, right? It's just sitting there. If it's got capacity, we're going to keep filling that thing up till it stops. Not so much with the cloud, right? You're paying for each and everything you deploy and store. So we hate the surprise bills. It's something we all have had to deal with. And it's really important to keep those costs in check and make sure that you're forecasting accurately.
Yeah, that's right. I actually just got a surprise bill from my eye doctor, and I was like, geez.
But it wasn't the cloud, right? All right, let's get back to a little bit of cloud love. And I use the word hate, but maybe I'm being a little too harsh. It's just things to be aware of in the cloud. So another thing love about the cloud. Kirsten, tell us.
Yeah, so less management overhead. So, you're going to have to manage, since you're not really managing, all these physical servers yourself, you're just going to have less management and more time to free up some resources for other projects. And then when you think of, adopting an as a service model, you're really going to be able to free up any type of internal IT resources, or maybe you have, some physical servers running like Exchange like locally. Maybe you're thinking about Microsoft Office 365, put that in Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive. So really, moving from that traditional model where you need to, install everything on a server, configure it, install the application with software as a service, the application's already installed and running. And so basically, you'll have that ready to use in no time. And it's really going to allow you to also, scale as you grow. Like when you think about Microsoft 365, almost every business is using it. So easily scaling, add more users as you grow as well. So yeah, I just think overall, it sometimes if you only have, a one IT man shop, managing all these applications, configuring them, doing it all yourself, using an as a service model is going to help you prioritize your time a little bit better as well. So
That's a great point, Kirsten, because as a former vSphere admin, I used to hate dealing with the virtualized Exchange environments. They were a bit troublesome sometimes when they weren't done correctly. Uh, but really, some of those software as a service models, Microsoft 365 being the biggest example, they get you out of that game, right? It gives you more time to do what you're supposed to do inside your organization, to let IT be an innovation center instead of a cost center, right? Instead of keeping the lights on for all these apps that everybody just uses anyway, hey, let's do software as a service. And if we think about the public clouds themselves, really, that's more like infrastructure as a service, right? So we're still deploying the VMs, the instances, the VM instances, whatever you want to call them, but we're out of the game of the hardware. We're out of the game of the power. We're out of the game of the cooling, and we're out of the game when it comes to space, which brings me to my last thing I hate about the cloud. And maybe this is something I love about the cloud. The cloud is just another data center, right? The thing I hate the most about the cloud is that people sometimes pass it off as this magical place where everything's okay and everything just works. that's not true, because I've seen a lot of people try to migrate a workload to the cloud, and it just wasn't doing well on-prem for whatever reason. Oh, it's not running right, it's too slow, blah, blah. Let's send it to the cloud and see if it helps. Spoiler alert, if it wasn't working right on-prem, it's still not going to work right in the cloud, right? Just lifting and shifting the garbage you have now is just going to be garbage in the cloud and lead to an overall negative experience. So yes, is the cloud a wonderful place sometimes, but it's not magic. It's not going to fix your problems. You need to fix them as you go, right? So moving to the cloud is a great opportunity to upgrade or re-architect that application that never ran right, or maybe deploy new in the cloud and cut over from on-prem or something like that, right? But there's a lot of a tendency to get kind of blindsided by the amazingness of the cloud and forget all the little things that you need to do beforehand, like security practices are very important. You end up like me and you get ransomware in the cloud, right? Backing up your data is super important because it's infrastructure as a service, right? So you're still responsible for those workloads and that data. So we need to back them up like we would on-prem. Then we can talk about, my favorite example ever is when AWS's US East 1 region goes down, the world comes to a grinding halt because everybody just deploys their stuff in US East 1 because it's the default, right? So we need to be taking proper architectural steps when we move to the cloud as well. Would you put everything in your organization in one data center? No, of course you wouldn't. So then we need to take advantage of things like different regions in the cloud and make sure we're spreading workloads across them. So if there is some kind of cloud outage, because there hasn't been one in a while, that's me knocking on my wooden desk. It's just like on-prem, right? Something happens in a data center, something happens in the cloud, everything has an issue. So you don't get a pass from things like disaster recovery or backup or security or maintaining your applications, right? Virtual sprawl is a thing in VMware. Like you just leave it there and let it run forever because who cares? You're paying for that in the cloud. So kind of the deployment lifecycle of your workloads also really has a huge impact on your cloud spending bill. And I feel like all these things are kind of linked together. And maybe why I don't like the cloud, I don't know. I see a lot of people do not good things with the cloud and have bad experiences, and I don't want to see anybody have a bad experience in the cloud.
Yeah, I hate when people have bad experiences. And I like even mentioned to you, Melissa, about me reading your blog post that you have about things that you should not be doing in the cloud. And this was one of those things too. It's like, oh, what is it, like the lift and shift?
Lift and shift, yeah.
Yeah, people just think they can put it up there, but the bad news follows them around if they don't fix it correctly.
That is so true. So let's cut back to the map one more time before we wrap things up. We have a couple more people who have joined us. Welcome to the Cloud Fest, Connecticut, Nigeria, and Pakistan. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. We hope this was somewhat informative and maybe helps you love the cloud more, right? Because it's all about love. We don't want to just be putting negativity and hate in the universe. We want to fix these things that we hate about it and do them the right thing so everybody has a wonderful cloud experience at the end of the day. We do have a couple of resources for you to get cloudy. Again, I mentioned we had some great new releases of product this week. Veeam Backup for AWS version 5, Veeam Backup for Google Cloud version 3. They're both available in their respective marketplaces and free for your first 10 VMs or instances or VM instances or whatever you would like to call the thing that runs in the cloud. So go deploy it.